The snow fell thick and heavy across the Rocky Mountains of Colorado that December morning, creating a deadly silence that even the bravest creatures respected. In this unforgiving wilderness, where temperatures plummeted to 20 degrees below zero, only the strongest survived. Sierra, a 7-year-old female mountain lion with distinctive scars across her golden coat, moved through the deep powder with the calculated grace of an apex predator. Her amber eyes, hardened by years of solitary survival, scanned the white landscape for any sign of movement that might mean her next meal. 2 years earlier, Sierra had lost her only cubs to a harsh winter and an even harsher male mountain lion who had invaded her territory. Since then, she had become something of a ghost, avoiding other mountain lions and focusing solely on survival. The scars on her face and shoulders told the story of countless battles, each one a testament to her refusal to surrender to the mountains that had taken everything from her. This morning, as the blizzard from the previous night began to clear, Sierra followed a scent trail that caught her attention. There was blood in the air, but also something else, something that made her move more carefully than usual through the drifting snow. The trail led her down a steep, rocky slope to a small clearing protected by massive boulders. As Sierra crouched low and crept forward, her keen ears picked up a sound that made every muscle in her powerful body tense. It was the soft, desperate crying of young animals in distress. What she found would haunt wildlife experts for years to come. In the shelter of the largest boulder, 2 tiny fawns huddled together against the cold. They couldn't have been more than 3 weeks old, their spotted coats providing no protection against the killing cold of the high country winter. Their mother lay motionless nearby, her neck clearly broken from a fall during the previous night's storm. Sierra's first instinct was exactly what millions of years of evolution had programmed into her DNA. These were prey animals. Deer were her primary food source. These helpless fawns represented an easy meal that could sustain her for days. Her stomach, empty for 48 hours, growled with hunger. But something stopped her from making the killing strike. Perhaps it was the way the smaller fawn, a female with unusually dark spots, looked directly into her eyes. There was no fear in that gaze, only a desperate hope that seemed to reach across the vast gulf between predator and prey. The larger fawn, clearly the male, had positioned himself protectively in front of his sister, his tiny legs shaking from cold and terror, but his stance defiant. The sound of their crying triggered memories Sierra had tried to bury. The sound of her own cubs, cold and hungry in their den, calling for their mother. The sound that had stopped abruptly one terrible night when she returned from hunting to find them gone forever. For 20 minutes, Sierra remained motionless, watching the fawns grow weaker as the mountain cold sapped what little strength they had left. Within another hour, hypothermia would claim them both. The decision she made next would challenge everything that made her a mountain lion. Slowly, almost carefully, Sierra approached the dying fawns. Then, with a gentleness that defied nature itself, she began to lick the snow and ice from their coats. The warm, rough tongue of the mountain lion gradually brought circulation back to their extremities. As warmth returned to their small bodies, the fawns began to respond. But grooming alone would not save them. What happened next would force scientists to rewrite their understanding of mountain lion behavior. Sierra carefully picked up the female fawn in her powerful jaws, the same jaws that could crush the spine of an adult deer with a single bite. But her grip was perfectly controlled,
firm enough to carry the fawn safely, but gentle enough not to cause harm. Sierra's den was located nearly a mile away, carved into a rocky outcrop that provided protection from wind and snow. After depositing the female fawn safely in the warmth of her den, Sierra made the dangerous trek back through the deepening snow to retrieve the male. By the time both fawns were in Sierra's den, night was falling and the temperature was dropping even further. The fawns huddled together in the deepest part of the cave, their breathing visible in small puffs of vapor. Every instinct told Sierra this was wrong. Every genetic program in her brain screamed that she was making a fatal mistake. Mountain lions were solitary hunters. They did not adopt prey animals. But as the fawns settled into an exhausted sleep, Sierra found herself moving closer to them. Without conscious thought, she curled her large, warm body around the tiny deer, sharing her heat with creatures that nature had designed her to kill. As the first night passed in the high country den, something unprecedented was happening in the Colorado wilderness. A mountain lion was becoming a mother to fawns.
The most remarkable transformation occurred in how Sierra interacted with the fawns. She found herself licking them clean each morning and evening, grooming that stimulated their circulation and created a bond that transcended species boundaries. The most challenging aspect was feeding. Fawns at Dawn and Aspen's age would normally still be nursing while beginning to sample vegetation. Through trial and error, Sierra discovered they could digest small amounts of softer organs from her kills, but they clearly needed something else. The solution came when Sierra discovered a patch of winter grass protected from the snow by an overhanging rock. She began carrying mouthfuls of this grass back to the den, behavior no mountain lion had ever been documented performing. As winter deepened, the bond between Sierra and the fawns grew stronger. Dawn typically curled up against Sierra's belly, while Aspen positioned himself along her back. Sierra's large body provided perfect warmth for the small deer, and their presence comforted the mountain lion in ways she hadn't experienced since losing her own cubs. By the end of their second month together, Dawn and Aspen had grown significantly. They were now sturdy, healthy young deer with thick winter coats and bright, alert eyes. But they had also developed distinctly un-deer-like behaviors from living with the mountain lion. Both had learned to move with the silent stalking gait that Sierra used when hunting. Most remarkably, they had developed communication patterns that borrowed from both deer and mountain lion vocalizations. Spring arrived in the Colorado Rockies with dramatic suddenness. As patches of green began appearing on south-facing slopes, Dawn and Aspen's behavior changed noticeably. They spent more time at the den's entrance, their large ears constantly moving as they processed the new sounds of a world coming alive after winter. Sierra watched their restlessness with pride and growing concern. She had successfully kept them alive through the harshest winter in decades, but their survival skills were oddly mixed. They could navigate treacherous rocky terrain with the agility of mountain goats, but they had never learned the complex social behaviors of deer herds. Dawn began showing signs of deep distress. The young doe would stand at the den's entrance for hours, calling out with the soft, bleating sounds that deer used to locate their herd. Sierra knew what Dawn was seeking. Deer are fundamentally social animals. Dawn needed to find a herd that would accept her. Sierra's first attempt at introduction nearly ended in disaster. She led Dawn and Aspen to within a quarter mile of a healthy herd she had discovered. But when Dawn attempted to approach, the response was violent. The lead doe saw Dawn's approach as a threat. The fawn's scent was contaminated with mountain lion, and her behavior was too bold. The matriarch charged, driving Dawn back toward the trees. Sierra's children were being cast out by their own kind because of their association with her.
The solution came from Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a wildlife biologist conducting deer research in the Colorado High Country. When Elena reviewed her motion-activated camera footage, she discovered something that made her question her scientific training. The cameras had captured images of two young deer attempting to approach the herd, deer that moved with the silent, purposeful gait of predators. Most astonishing, one camera had captured a mountain lion accompanying the young deer. Elena shared her footage with colleagues, and together they documented this unprecedented interspecies adoption. The consensus was clear. Sierra had formed genuine maternal bonds with Dawn and Aspen, and was actively working to reintegrate them into deer society. Elena proposed a gradual reintegration program, a neutral feeding area where the herd could encounter the young deer in low-stress conditions, with Sierra maintaining a discreet but protective presence. Over several weeks, Dawn began to find her place within the herd's social structure. Her intelligence and physical capabilities earned grudging respect from the other does. Aspen faced greater challenges, but his unusual skills and calm demeanor intrigued the dominant buck rather than threatening him. The most emotional moment came when Dawn gave birth to her first fawn 2 years later. Dawn proved to be an exceptional mother, combining traditional deer caregiving with the protective vigilance she had learned from Sierra. Sierra, now an elderly mountain lion, continued to patrol the territory that encompassed both her rocky den and the valley where her adopted children lived. When predators threatened the herd, Sierra would appear at the edges, her presence serving as a deterrent. The story of Sierra's impossible family became a landmark case in animal behavior research, challenging fundamental assumptions about predator-prey relationships. But for Elena, who had spent 3 years documenting this extraordinary family, the scientific implications were secondary to the simple truth she had witnessed. Love, in its most fundamental form, could transcend species boundaries and overcome evolutionary programming. As autumn returned to the Colorado Rockies, Sierra rested on her favorite rocky outcrop. Below in the valley, she could see Dawn teaching her young fawn to navigate stream crossings that Sierra had once shown her. Aspen, now a mature buck with impressive antlers, grazed peacefully with the herd that had finally accepted him. The mountain lion's amber eyes, now clouded slightly with age, held a contentment that few wild creatures ever experience. She had not simply survived another year in the unforgiving wilderness. She had created something unprecedented, a family bound not by genetics, but by choice, not by instinct, but by love. Sierra's transformation from predator to protector was complete, but her legacy would continue in the generations of deer that would carry her lessons into the future, and in the human understanding of what was possible when creatures chose compassion over conquest.